Hi, welcome to Sarah Says and another review of The Walking Dead. So this is season 7, episode 3, called The Cell. Last week it was called The Well, now we have The Cell. So doing a little play on words there, trying to be clever. So why is it called The Cell? Well, we primarily are focused on Daryl for the majority of the episode. He's in a cell by himself, solitary confinement. You know, humans are funny creatures. The worst thing that you can do to us, we're so social, is to put us all by ourselves, lock us in a box. Just sensory deprivation. Some people are more loners than others, but eventually if you're by yourself every day for an extended period of time, you're going to go crazy. You need some sort of human interaction. So Negan opens the episode by saying, "Welcome to a brand new beginning, you shits." So remember when I said how Negan was like 60% silly but 40% serious? I feel like that sentence right there, "Welcome to a brand new beginning, you shits," is like Negan encompassed. You know, he's establishing himself as pretty much like God. You know, he's establishing himself as the only force to be reckoned with. And we see that later on, a couple almost biblical references. He refers when he's asking all of the saviors, "Who are you?" And they say, "Negan." He goes, "See, I'm everywhere." You know, he's trying to make Daryl feel that he is omnipresent. He's everywhere at all times, you know. And then later when Negan is offering Daryl all of this, "If you just concede to me," that reminds me of Jesus on the mountaintop, where he's doing the whole fasting thing, and the devil is trying to tempt him and turn stones into, "Why don't you turn stones into bread? And I can give you all of this, all of the land can be yours." And he cast him away and said to get behind him and rebuked him and all that business. So I feel like they're establishing Negan as either God or a godlike presence, or the devil himself, giving him that all-powerful kind of feeling. So the beginning is the saviors, they're living large. They show Dee or Dwight making a sandwich. He's got fresh tomatoes, lettuce, eggs, mustard that he stole from somebody's bunk, and basically anything that he wants is there for the taking. The saviors are living large. And then it pans to him giving Daryl a dog food sandwich. You know, so the contrast is quite enormous there, that Dwight gets to have whatever he wants and Daryl is being fed dog food. And so they're setting us up for later on in the episode, where we see that Daryl is offered a choice. And what is he going to do? Is he going to accept it? He can become a walker, a dead man on the fence. He can become someone who's working for points, who basically is working for Negan, but not in a good way. They said, "You're going to wish you were dead." And then his third choice is he can become one of Negan's men, you know, working, but getting fed well, living large, living comfortable, etc. So Daryl is faced with this choice. They continue to play the Easy Street music while he's in the cell, and I just thought, my God, poor Daryl. You know, for a good portion of the time, he's naked, so he's cold. He's in the dark, and he's listening to this music, and it's not even the music it's driving him crazy, but it's so loud that he's sleep deprived. Every time he falls asleep, they're waking him up with the stupid "You're on Easy Street" music that I think would drive anyone crazy. And then we get to kind of learn Dwight's story. Dee, they refer to him. And this just horribly messed up story of how, he was trying to scavenge medicine for his sister-in-law who was sick. And, Negan self-proclaims himself as this stand-up, upright kind of guy who's going to marry the sister-in-law, Tina, so that he can take care of her and provide for her and give her the medicine she needs. And instead they run away after Dwight steals the medication. And they don't really say why he came back. They said he came back with his wife At some point, the sister-in-law dies. I don't know if it's because she doesn't have her medication or she got bit or whatever, but the sister-in-law dies. They don't say that they killed her, so I don't know. But so she's dead, and now Sherry, Dee's now ex-wife, offers to marry Negan instead of Tina, who I guess was dead at this point. So now we know the horrible truth of this. And earlier in the episode, when Negan tells Dee that he did a good job, you can take your pick of any woman that says yes, and he turns him down. And you don't really know why until later they tell this story. And it appears that Sherry is also one of those women that Negan is presumably farming out, prostituting out as reward for a job well done. And because he knows that Sherry has to concede to this, he chooses not to have sex with anybody as reward. And then it goes into the Code Orange situation, which I think was Daryl breaking out of his cell. And it's interesting, when the other savior closed the door after giving him his sandwich, I said, he didn't lock that. And I felt like it was a trap, and it definitely was. So Daryl sneaks out. Sherry catches him in the hallway, says, please go back while you can. Whatever Negan has done to you, he's going to do it so much worse. And Daryl, of course, doesn't listen because he's Daryl. He's stubborn, and he thinks he has a chance. And he sees motorcycle heaven outside, and he thinks he can drive away. And of course, he's surrounded in minutes, where Negan is saying, and here again comes the silly and the crazy. So he likes to bait Daryl. He tells him that, Lucille's not that thirsty today, so you get off. So you think, okay, he's not going to get a beat down. But then he walks away with Lucille, and all his guys beat the crap out of him. So, Negan is always going to prove a point if he gets the chance to. And he definitely had the chance to. Sorry, I'm just looking through my notes here because there was a lot of stuff going on in this episode. So Dee rides through the area where Daryl blew up all his comrades, all the other saviors. And you see him walking through all of the walkers who used to be presumably friends, if not acquaintances. They were on his team, and now they're all walkers. And throughout the episode, you're seeing little glimpses of Dee's humanity. In the very beginning, he's looking at one of the walkers on the fence, and he has a pole stuck through him. It almost looks like it's either a training compound where the other saviors train, or maybe not that, but you saw a lot of like the inmates. They had the letters on their uniforms, like Daryl did. They're out there like putting buckets on their heads and chaining them up to the fence. So maybe it's just a psychological thing to warn the rest of his captives, like, look, this is where you're going to end up, because that was one of the choices that he gave him. You can end up being a walker on the fence, or you can be one of us. So you see Dee looking at one of these guys on the fence, and if you look at his face, you kind of see a little glimmer of remorse, a little sadness, that he feels like this is just not quite right. And then he gets to this area where Daryl had blown up the other saviors, and he sees Gordon, the guy in the blue shirt. And Gordon basically has just given up at this point. He's just like, you know what, just shoot me, because I'm not going back with you, and there's nothing back there for either of us, and you know that. And Dee is just like, no, you got to come with me. And Gordon says, I'm not doing it, so you might as well just shoot me. And so then you see Dee turn a little bit, right? And he gets nasty, and he says, I'm going to dig up your dead wife and feed her to the crows, and everyone that you've ever talked to, not even just cared about, everyone that you've ever talked to, I'm going to destroy them. And so now Daryl says, all right, fine. I'll go back with you. He turns and starts walking, and Dee shoots him in the back as basically a mercy killing. So again, you're seeing a little bit of that humanity left in him. And then at the very end of the episode, you see Gordon is now on the fence. So Dee has enough loyalty to Negan that he went out, he retrieved Gordon, he threatened Gordon, and put him on the fence. But at the same time, now that we know Dee's story and what's going on with that, you kind of feel like Daryl can turn him back to the light side and not the dark side. So it's interesting to see how this is morphing, and I feel like they're setting us up for Dee to be doing something great at the end. Sorry about that. I had to delete some of my other videos that were taking up memory on my phone. So yeah, we're seeing a change in Dee a little bit, but he's still really loyal to Negan at this point. To the point where he's really trying to do his job, which is break Daryl. Make Daryl one of the saviors. Negan sees the potential in Daryl. Daryl is a warrior. Daryl is a fighter. And Daryl can be a great right-hand man if they can get him to break. And we know, or at least we really hope, that if Daryl does change to be a savior, that it's really not a permanent change. He's just doing it to survive. But at this point, it's looking like he's still gonna say no for quite some time. Dee shows him a picture, a Polaroid of basically demolished Glenn, which is heart-wrenching and so horrible. He doesn't have anything to look at in this cell except for this picture. And he puts on the make you cry music, and Daryl just starts bawling. So he thinks he's broken Daryl, which it appears to be that he is. But then he takes him to Negan's quarters and gives him the choice. Negan, in his silly yet serious self, offers him water and goes, "Oh, you need a straw because your face is all puffed up like a baboon's ass." I couldn't help but laugh at that. Like, he's such a dick. He's the villain you love to hate, right? So he offers to make him a savior, and he gives him one last test, one last question, and he says, "Who are you?" And then there's several seconds of very tense silence, and we're waiting to see, is he gonna say he's Negan? Is he gonna play along? And Daryl still says, "I'm Daryl." And then Dee looks at him like, "You idiot, what are you doing? Like, this is your chance to not die and not live a horrible life." And, Daryl at the very end says, "I understand why you stole the medication. You had people depending on you, and you needed to do it. And that is why I can't say yes. That is why I can't be a savior," because Daryl feels an immense responsibility to his group, even more so now that he feels responsible, I'm sure, for getting Glenn killed after trying to rush Negan after he killed Abraham. So, Daryl's got a lot that he feels that he needs to atone for. And, he just, at this point, he can't say, "Yes, I'll be a savior." I have a feeling, and you write in the comments below what you think, but I have a feeling that Daryl is going to say yes, become a savior, and fake us out. And then they're probably going to test him, and he's probably going to have to kill some innocent people to prove his loyalty. And then eventually he's going to turn on Negan. He's going to get Dee's help, and they're going to escape, and it'll come around towards the end of the season, and the two of them will help rescue Rick and Maggie and everybody else. So let me know how you think it's going to turn out. If any of you have read the comics and you know what's going on, or at least because the show hasn't followed the comics 100% up until this point. So if you think you know what's going to happen according to the comics, you can put that in the comments and let me know what you think. But, let me know if you have any comments about the, kind of like the spiritual comparisons that they're making, the biblical references. How do you feel about Negan? Is he a likable villain? likable in the sense that you love to hate him. You know, do you think that he's playing his part well? I think Negan is kicking ass in this role. You know, you don't like him because he's going after your favorite characters, but you do like him because he's just, like I said, he's silly and he's crazy. Yeah, so write your comments below. What do you think of the season so far? I liked this episode. I liked the backstory on Dwight. Sometimes in Fear the Walking Dead, they give us some backstories that are not so interesting. I've learned to like Fear the Walking Dead more now that the second season has been completed. The first season, I was just like, oh my God, this is so slow. And it only picked up in like the last 2 episodes, but then it got pretty good. So maybe I'll do some Fear the Walking Dead reviews later when the next season comes if you guys like that. So anyway, thanks for watching Sarah Says.